Stories with CrispySkates, and we are reading The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame, picking up where we left off last night. Let's begin. They were just about to sit down when Mole clambered in through the window, chuckling with an armful of rifles. "It's all over," he reported. "From what I can make out of it, as soon as the Stoats were very nervous and jumpy already, heard the shrieks and the yells and the uproar inside the hall, some of them threw down their rifles and fled. The others stood fast for a bit, but when the weasels came rushing back out upon them, they thought they were betrayed, and the Stoats grappled with the weasels, and the weasels fought to get away, and they wrestled and wiggled and punched each other out, and rolled over and over till most of 'em rolled into the river. They've already disappeared by now. Now, one way or another, I've got to get their rifles. So that's all right." "Excellent and deserving animal," said the badger with his mouth full of chicken and trifle. "Now that's just one more thing that I want to do, Mole, before you sit down to your supper along of us. And I wouldn't trouble you, only I know I can trust you to see things done. I wish I could say the same of everyone I know. I'd send the rat if he wasn't a poet. I want you to take those fellows on the floor upstairs with you and have some of the bedrooms cleaned out and tidied up, made really comfortable. See that the sweep under the beds and put clean the sheets and the pillowcases on, and turn down one corner of the bedcloths, just as you know it ought to be done, and have the can of hot water and clean towels and fresh cakes of soap, and put in each room. And then you can give them a licking and a piece, if it's a satisfaction to you, and put them out in the back door, and we shan't see any more of them, I fancy. And then come along and have some of this cold tongue. It's first rate. I'm very pleased with you, Mom." The good-natured Mole picked up his stick, formed his prisoners up in a line on the floor, and gave them their order. "Quick march!" And he led Squad up to the upper floor. After a time, he appeared again. Smiling, he said that every room was ready and clean as a new pin, and I didn't have to lick them either. He added, "I thought one hole that they had licking enough one night, and the weasels, when I put the point to them, quite agreed with me, and they said that they wouldn't think of troubling me. They were very penitent, and they were extremely sorry for what they had done, but it was all the fault of the chief weasels and the Stoats, and if ever they could come and do anything for us at any time to make up, we had only got to mention it. So I gave them a roll of peace and let them out the back, and off they ran, and as hard as they could." The Mole pulled up his chair to the table and pitched into the cold tongue, and toad, like a gentleman, he was put all of his jealousy from him and said heartily, "Thank you kindly, dear Mole, for all your pains and trouble tonight, and especially for your cleverness this morning. The badger was pleased at you," said. "There spoke my brave toad." So they finished their supper in a great joy of contentment, and presently retired to rest in clean sheets, safe in Toad's ancestral home, won back by the matchless velour, consummate strategy, and proper handling of sticks. Hello, Dark Infinity. I am reading The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. It's a very old book. It's like 100 years old. It's in the Gutenberg. Goodbye. All right, said the toad. Oh, wait. No, that's not where we were. Oh, there we are. The following morning, Toad, who had overslept himself as usual, came down to breakfast disgracefully late, and found on the table a certain quantity of eggshells, some fragments of cold, leathery toast, and a coffee pot 3/4 empty, and really very little else, which did not tend to improve his temper, considering that all it was his own house, though the French windows of the breakfast room he could see the mole and the water rat sitting in wicker chairs out on the lawn, evidently telling each other stories, roaring with laughter and kicking their sorts of short legs in the air. The badger, who was in the armchair and deep in the morning paper, merely looked up and nodded when Toad entered the room. But Toad knew his man, so he sat down and made the best breakfast he could, merely observing to himself he could get square with the others sooner or later. When he had nearly finished, the badger looked up, remarked rather shortly, "I'm sorry, Toad, but I'm afraid there's a heavy morning's work in front of you. You see, we really ought to have a banquet at once to celebrate this affair. It's expected of you. In fact, it's the rule." "Oh, all right," said the toad readily. "Anything to oblige. Though why on earth should you have a banquet in the morning, I cannot understand. But, I do not live to please myself, but merely to find out what my friends want, and then try to arrange it for 'em. You dear old badger. Don't pretend to be stupider than you really are," replied the badger crossly. "And don't chuckle and sputter in your coffee while you're talking in knots and manners. What I mean is, the banquet will be all night, of course, but the invitations will have to be written and got off at once. You've got to write 'em. Now sit down right there at that table. There's stacks of letter paper on it with Toad Hall at the top in blue and gold, and write the invitations to all our friends. And if you stick it in with shall get out before luncheon, and I'll be the hand to, and take my share of the burden. I'll order the banquet." "What?" cried Toad, dismayed. Me stop indoors and write a lot of rotten letters on a jolly morning like this, when I want to go around in my property and set everything and everybody to rights and swagger about and enjoy myself? Certainly not. I'll beam. I see. Stop a minute, though. Why, of course, dear Badger. What is my pleasure or convenience compared to that of others? You wish it done, and it shall be done. Go, Badger. Order the banquet. Order what you like, and then join our young friends outside in their innocent mirth, oblivious of me and my careers and cares and toils. I sacrifice this far morning on the altar of duty and friendship. All right, you guys, we're gonna cut it short right there. It's late, and oh, hello. How are you guys? Okay, I was gonna cut it short. I'll keep reading for one more paragraph. The badger looked at him suspiciously, but Toad's frank, open countenance made it difficult to suggest any unworthy motive in his change of attitude. He quitted the room accordingly in the direction of the kitchen, and as soon as the door had closed behind him, the Toad hurried to the writing table. A fine idea had occurred to him while he was talking. He would write the invitations, and he would take to mention the leading part he had taken in the fight, and how he laid the chief weasel flat, and he would hint to his adventures and what a career of triumph he had to tell about, and the fly-leaf he would set out of sort. All right, everybody. I hope you have a lovely evening, and please keep all comments in English. I appreciate that, only because I had an issue with somebody bullying somebody else. But I appreciate you for being here, and I hope you have a lovely evening. Keep it crispy. Until tomorrow.